Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Repertoire Workouts with Rae. Today we're going to have a look at a couple of grade 3 pieces. And one of my favorite pieces from the Burgmüller Opus 100 studies is Innocence. I love playing this piece. I think it's graceful, it's beautiful when it's played well. However, I find a lot of students will come back, especially the ones with really stiff wrists and arms. They'll play it with a lot of finger action, which of course make the notes sound really heavy, and they have trouble keeping up with the required tempo. And of course, the finger action alone makes it unsuitable for the expression grazioso. So Rae, how would you help them solve this problem?
Thank you, Melody. Yes, well, it is a problem. If students are going to be stiff in the wrists, the fingers simply won't work as well. So you'll get something that'll sound a bit like this. And it sounds really, really unmusical. The minute we use our wrist in a circular movement, the whole passage will have shape. So what would we do about it? How do we achieve that? Well, in Fit for Piano, we have a lovely exercise called Windmills. There's a great picture here of a windmill. And what we encourage the student to do is a beautiful circular movement with the wrist. So if I take that action and I put it into this piece, I might take each of the group of 4 semiquavers and repeat them several times to get the wrist moving around in a circle. You notice that when I'm doing that wrist movement, I'm not lifting my fingers high because that would just defeat the object of the exercise. We want the fingers to be firm on the key, but also to be part of that circular movement. So then when we add them all together, it's going to flow and have musicality.
Thank you, Rae. So another problem I find, especially when it comes to the second half of this piece with those ascending scales, is that students often have trouble with the accuracy and the speed. And I think the problem is they allow their hands to move up the piano, but their bodies are not following their hands up the piano. So in the book Fit for Piano, we've got a little exercise called the clock, which encourage the body to follow the hands smoothly. Could you just expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, this is a great exercise. It was given to me by a Feldenkrais practitioner, and she had the people in my studio tracing the hands of a clock by moving the pelvis on the seat. So we were moving from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock, 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock, 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And what this does is it wakes up the whole core of the body and helps the pelvis to be mobile on the seat. Now we need that in order to play, because if a passage moves right up the keyboard like this and we sit in our normal position right in front of middle C, we're going to be reaching an awfully long way. It's so uncomfortable. But if we take our body to the right like that, we will be able to move easily across the length of the keyboard. And this exercise helps us to get that flexibility and this ability to move. And all the more important it is that from the very earliest levels that we get kids to have their feet supported, because there's no way their pelvis will be able to move freely if their feet are dangling in the air. So that really applies to this piece. If I'm playing the right hand, here we start on this C, and then we're up another octave. Now we're a long way up now, but you'll notice that my body has followed my hands. If I were to stay back like this, I wouldn't be able to play it evenly, let alone find the right notes, because this is so uncomfortable. But by moving to the right with my pelvis, we don't want to move the shoulders, just the pelvis. Then we have to come down the keyboard. Now this is another really important point, because we don't want to leave our arms stuck up there, all right, because that again is uncomfortable. So it's important that the arm travels and closes into the body on the way down. So both of those ideas are going to help those scale passages to move really freely.
Yeah, I often find as soon as I get the students to move freely up and down the piano, following their hands, that those scales just become so much easier and a lot more accurate. And of course, they enjoy playing it as well. So now let's move on to our second piece, which is called Avalanche by Hella. Now this is actually one of my studio favorite pieces because when it's played well, it sounds exciting, sounds dramatic, and it's actually a lot easier than it sounds. So there are so many technical points that we can cover in this piece, like how to play chords, road chords, scales. But for today, we're just going to talk about how to play the opening successfully.
Well, this beginning passage, which goes, it's just going to use our 3-note slur movement. So for a start, I would take the student back to the 3-note slurs exercises and make sure that they can do those exercises really freely, like this. And then in the Fit for Piano, we've used the long fingers as opposed to using the thumb. So when we come to this piece, we're going to put the thumb into the action, but we still need to use that really floating movement. So we'll have to straight away learn to float off the thumb. The thumb doesn't want to play down and heavy, it wants to float off. And then the two hands need to coordinate together, a bit like, I don't know, swimming, something like that. And with that amount of freedom, we want the hands to stay quite near the keys, but we want the wrist and arm to be moving in coordination. And that way, the whole of that passage will come to life.
Okay, so for this opening, I've got a game called Octopus Tentacles.
Okay.
Yeah, so with this game, I'm trying to get the kids to be to coordinate their arms in a way that will suit this piece. So we're going to start with these great big octopus tentacles.
Okay, that's good.
And then getting them to try this on the piano. That's it. We're going to make it slightly smaller now. And if we want an extra fast speed, we're going to have tiny little baby tentacles.
Great.
Go.
Yeah.
So this game usually works really, really quickly, gets them enjoying this piece really instantly, and then they're off.
Fantastic. I love it. I love these little games and these names, Melody.
Yeah, you got to market them in a way that's appealing to little kids.
Great.
Yeah. That concludes our episode for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and if you enjoyed our video, please follow and subscribe and give us a thumbs up and let us know if you want us to cover any specific pieces in the future. We'll see you next time. Bye!